Punisher issue 14 sees the UN-disguised HYDRA soldiers marching into Manhattan as Zemo is called by Fisk, who demands to know what the villain is doing since he has sent the Vigil officers home. Zemo knows, however, that they were Fisk's spies and they were in his way, and Fisk wonders what the point of the Thunderbolts is if they don't know where Castle is. Fisk hangs up and Zemo says that he wants everything possible to be done to find the Punisher. Frank meanwhile is met by Black Widow, who after a few insulting jabs at the man's choice of dinner, talks to Frank about the UN hunting him. Frank says people cheered when the UN arrived for him, but Nat wonders why he thought he was the hero in this situation. Frank says that soldiers complicate things and he won't kill innocents, but they're in his way now. Nat reveals a file of the 400 troops hunting him, revealing they actually aren't UN troops, but HYDRA in disguise. She tries to join Frank in his crusade, but Frank tells her that she isn't involved since he works better alone. After leaving the diner, Frank heads to the Bronx, where two UN soldiers have come into a cafe looking for Frank. They interrogate the old woman behind the counter, since word on the street is that she knows where Frank is. The woman refuses to help her since Frank helped her shop, so the men get agitated, drawing their weapons as a kid tells them about their burning car. The men rush outside to their burning car only to be gunned down by the Punisher, who reveals that under their UN costume they were indeed HYDRA. Elsewhere, Fisk entertains guests when Wesley alerts him to the Punisher killing his soldiers. Fisk anticipated this, but Wesley reveals some of the soldiers actually wore their HYDRA uniforms under their UN gear, and local law enforcement definitely saw them. Fisk demands to know where Zemo is, and if he is in his HQ when Fisk gets there, he will kill him. In Queens, more of the soldiers are attacked, but it's a trap as the Thunderbolts arrive and attack Frank. The power team beat Frank around the park, but as they move in for the kill, Frank explodes in a blinding light. The team are all knocked down by the EMP concussion grenade, but soon realize Frank is gone. Later on, Frank awakens in the presence of Black Widow and Night Thrasher, who just saved him. Nat tells Frank that they are there to help and she wants to put together a group of friends of his to go up against Zemo and the others. The only problem is it turns out Frank doesn't have so many friends, so only her and Night Thrasher and the arriving Moon Knight are the only ones who showed up. After a brief talk with Mark, he grabs his coat, telling them that he doesn't need them joining him. Nat tells him Zemo's outplayed and outgunned Frank at every turn, and they want to help even the odds, but Frank says he works alone. Opening the door reveals Rachel Cole Owls, who is there to help. Frank knows she shouldn't have come, but Rachel says that Frank helped her, so it's only right she returns the favor. She tells Frank that this isn't a game and she will do whatever it takes to end this war. Frank agrees to let them help, but they need one more heavy hitter. Going to Fadeaway Pub, Frank meets with Danny Ketch, who isn't interested in Frank needing Ghost Rider's help. Frank cold-cocks Danny, knocking him out and taking him to the village. Frank tells the waking Danny he needs the Rider to help with the HYDRA soldiers, but Danny doesn't want to be roped into his business. But it's too late since Frank has shown that he has killed some soldiers, and he's going to leave Danny there since in a minute his buddies will be there in a tank, so either he helps or not. Danny needs his bike, but luckily Frank has it on hand, so once the soldiers and their tank arrive, Ghost Rider and the Punisher blast through it, heading to their rendezvous point. Once there, Frank lays out the plan to put Zemo on the defensive, and the easiest way to do that is to attack Kingpin at Fisk Tower. With their plan ready, Frank rallies his team as they make their way to the tower to take back the city. The Punisher issue 14 finally saw Frank take the fight to Zemo and form his own team filled with some surprisingly strong characters. The action this issue was really cool and fast paced and helped move the plot along at a nice pace. I also loved how Kingpin is kind of having to battle Zemo as well as Frank, since he's kind of going rogue with having his soldiers wear HYDRA armor and dismissing the Vigil officers, stuff like that. It adds an unknown factor whether Zemo will actually betray Fisk or if Fisk will send his men after Zemo as well as Frank. Either way, I'm pretty excited to see what happens next issue. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.